Hi, I'm Larry Puckett. A couple of weeks ago, I showed you the WWScenics Progress Layering System. And back then, I told you that they had sent me a couple of other things as well. So we're going to take a look at those other things today. So stick around and we'll get started as soon as we roll the intro and I get set up and am ready for this. Hit that little red subscribe button, and when the little bell comes up, click on it and click all. Before we get started, let me say that I've been looking at all of your comments about my track plan for the modules, and I'm not ignoring you on all of that, but let me tell you that I've already made a number of changes to the plan, many of which cover the questions that you had or comments and suggestions that you had made for me. So I'll be looking at that in the next video that I'll be doing here, because I still haven't heard anything from Walthers. I personally don't think we're going to get the Walthers roadbed until probably the first week or two of April. So in the meantime, I'm going to be covering a number of other topics. We'll be looking at some revisions to the track plan for the modules. We'll also be taking a look at some of the questions that came up about static grass and why different static grasses might work better than others, and different ways to attach the ground connection, all those kind of things. I'm going to test it out in one video, so we'll have a video about that. And I'm also planning a video on maintaining locomotives and what it takes to get them ready to go into service. So we'll be looking at that. And we might do a similar video on maintenance and upkeep of rolling stock, because you just can't take a piece of rolling stock and slap it on the layout and run it forever and forget about it. They do require occasional maintenance, and also there's a little bit of setup that sometimes is required when you get a new piece of rolling stock. So we'll be taking a look at that. Now, in addition to being one of the leading producers of static grass products in the UK and probably in all of Europe, WWScenics has really gotten into producing laser cut MDF products. Now, what is MDF? MDF means medium density fiberboard, and it basically uses ground up wood chips, sawdust basically, combined with some wax and some resin and some glue, and it is pressed to form something that looks very like what we in the US refer to as masonite. Although MDF is produced by a dry process, whereas masonite is a wet process. And it is very popular in other parts of the world, particularly in Asia, in Europe, and the like. It hasn't grown as fast in use here in the US. But at any rate, it makes a very, very good solid material similar to masonite, and it's used in a lot of cases in place of plywood because it does hold up structurally quite well. So a lot of what they are producing at WWScenics uses MDF, and I'm talking about things like I'm going to show you today, structure kits, bridge kits, various things like that. You can see it on their website, which is at www.scenics.com. Very easy to remember. So the first thing I want to show you is a neat little product that they have that I'm sure all of us could use, because one of the things that is guaranteed is modelers have a lot more locomotives generally than they have room on their layout to run them. So what they have done is they came up with these locomotive storage boxes, and they hold 10 locomotives. And you can see this one here. They're available in WWHO scale and also in an N-scale version. I put together the WWHO right away, and I still have the N-scale one to go. And I think I've got a friend who will put this together and use it. At any rate, it comes packaged flat, all laid out for you, and it's fairly easy to put together. It has a series. Let me bring you in a little bit closer so you can see this. Okay, you should be able to see this really well now. And this is what it looks like when it's completed. You can see it's got the 10 drawers there, and it works great in either N scale or HO scale. Okay, now as I said, it comes packaged as individual flat components, and you basically just have to glue it together. So you can see the individual pieces. They fit together, they're slotted, and they match up so that they only go together one way. So you can't put these together wrong. Well, you might be able to if you tried real hard. But let me tell you, if you've got any basic common sense at all and have ever put together a jigsaw puzzle, I think you could probably put one of these together without any problems. And that's a good thing because the instructions are pretty basic. There's no text to speak of. They just basically show you the various components, how they fit together, and it's up to you to just put them in there and slap down a little bit of glue to hold them together. For this, they included in my package, for the review, some of their glue. It's their MDF glue, and it worked quite well. I'll tell you, it is a water-based glue, so as long as you get it off before it dries, there's no problem. I was able to put together the two kits that I'm going to show you today over about an 8-hour period, and it basically took 8 hours because you have to apply the glue, tape it up, set it up so that it can dry, and then go with the next layer of the box or the individual drawers. Okay, so basically then you've got 10 drawers here, and they just pull right on out, and you can see they form a tray, and you can put your locomotive in here. They have this movable piece here that allows you to change the length of the storage area for each locomotive. So you could put 2 locomotives in here. You could put several pieces of rolling stock, whatever you need, you could store in here. A coach would fit in here quite nicely, locomotive, whatever. Let me show you. I've got one here, give you an idea of how I put this stuff together. I just used good old blue painter's tape, so it's a low adhesive tape. It's not going to leave any residue behind. And that held everything together while I applied the glue inside here and then let it set up. And if you look real close, you can see the shiny line there where I applied the glue. After it had dried, it dries to a shiny consistency. And then I can just pull off the tape very easily. That's held all these together, and it's ready to use. And just to give you an idea, I've got a couple of locomotives stashed in here. So I've got my steam locomotive, and it's sitting in here, and I've got this little divider set up so that it gives me just enough room, and it's not going to allow the locomotive to go crashing around while it's being handled. And one thing that I did that they did not provide, so I just took some of this ethafoam and cut it to fit. And that way, when I put my locomotive in here, none of the paint gets scraped on the sides at all, and it's protected while it's being moved around. And then you can just put it away. Oh, and by the way, if you've got any loose parts, such as lanterns, I put one of the lanterns here. I just tossed it back here in this extra box. And if you had crew members, anybody that's not firmly attached, you could just put them back in here. Coal loads, anything that you feel is going to get knocked around, you could store separately. So I've got 2 of those in here, and I'm sure that I'll be able to fill this box. One of the neat things that I wish they had was some way of setting these up to hold cassettes instead of drawers, because that way you could take a locomotive out, set it on the track, and operate it. But unfortunately, that's not in their design scheme, it seems like. Okay, so that is the first thing. As I said, these are easy to put together. Use any kind of wood glue. Their MDF glue works very, very well. So let me put this aside, and I'll get out the other product that I wanted to share with you today. Okay, the next item that I have to share with you is this WWScenics service station. And it's designed to allow you to work on your locomotives in one convenient area. It has slots for all your tools. And by the way, these are all my tools that I finally got a place to stash instead of just scattered on top of my workbench. And they've got little holes for things like files. They've got holes for slightly larger things, such as tools. I've got some scissors and the like in here. And then over here, paint brushes and various things, some cotton swabs, all of that kind of thing, places to store lots of neat stuff. There's even this, oops, nice little box. I haven't taken the tape off from where I put that together. It's still drying. But at any rate, you can see that holds those. You can lift it out and get access. It's got a nice little round opening here where I keep a shot glass with some files in it, small things that would get lost up here. And then various other slots. There's this neat little magnet area here that they provide, and it holds anything, loose screws, whatever. This is just some drill bits in a metal box. It also has a couple of drawers, one on each side here. This one has 3 compartments. Slides in here, and this one here has 2 compartments. So lots of little things you could stash in here. I think I'll probably put my rolling road rollers in a couple of these, and then I'll be able to use them here. And one really neat option that it comes with here is it's got this locomotive holder drawer, just like from the Loco storage unit that I just showed you. And this piece here lifts out, so you can put a locomotive in here upside down and work on it. Or you have the option of putting this, what they call a loco riser, in here, which allows you to bring things up closer for working on them. So in this case, I've got a HO scale switcher. This is an Atlas S2 switcher. And one of the neat things that they've included in this, let me get these out of my way. Okay, so basically what you have here then is 2 prongs, and then inside of this little area here on the right, they provide a small drawer for a 9-volt battery. And then that plugs in here, like so, and gives you a 9-volt power source that you can use for testing your locomotives after you've worked on them. So I've got the locomotive, the wheels are turning, so if I wanted to, I could use a Q-tip saturated with wheel cleaner, track cleaner, wheel cleaner, whatever you want to use, to clean those, that kind of thing. So it's a nice little feature. Now, one thing that I'm going to be working on in the future is also including a test track in here that could be powered by DCC. So I think I'll probably will put in a socket somewhere on here where I can plug in a wire from my DCC system, and that way I'd be able to run DCC locomotives using DCC power, do my programming here as well as my servicing. So that should come in really handy that way. There's a couple of these hooks here, 3 hooks across the front, in case you want to work from the left side or the right side and keep it out of the way. So they get your wires out of the way, and then you can go ahead and test your locomotive, see how it's working, or you can turn the wheels if you want to clean them or test the motor, anything like that. That's a nice little feature to have. And you'll note that the drawer here, there are 4 slots for it, and it's got the tabs here, so it stays handily in place once you set it down in those slots. So it's not going to go roaming all over the place. Now, one other thing, they have included on the riser this purple coated surface, and I haven't glued it down yet. I will. And I think that looks like purple static grass. I think they've coated the surface of this with their adhesive and have just put static grass on here. Neat idea. And that's going to help protect your locomotive while you're working on it. I think one thing I might do is put a strip of foam down here in the bottom so that the locomotive is sitting on that as well. And that would further protect the paint while you're working on it. But looks like I put in a little bit too much glue in this corner here on the left. So be aware of that. Don't over apply your glue, and if you do, go over it afterwards with a file, because I'm going to have to, yeah, I can feel that. I need to file that down some, and I might just sand this down on the corner too, because it doesn't really drop right into place. No, it's getting better now after I've messed with it. Okay, so as you can see, there's a number of different slots here on the top where you can put other kinds of tools. It would be, I think I might open that slot up a little bit larger so I can put some oil down in there and various other things, because I don't have a lot of small rectangular things that are going to fit in there. One of the nice things about this being MDF is that you can cut it, sand it, modify it as you desire once you've got it and had a chance to work with it. So I'm looking forward to this. I've actually got a video that I had planned to do where we will take a look at servicing a locomotive. So this is going to be just perfect for that. We'll use this for that servicing locomotives video. And once again, take a look at the WWScenics website, WWScenics.com. And they have a similar store on Etsy. And as I said, I will include the direct link to the Etsy store because I've always had problems finding stores, even the ones that I have clicked on as favorites. It still can be difficult to actually find the stores again. So what I've done is I've got a separate link just to their Etsy store, and I'll give that to you so you can access it. So in all, it's a handy little service station set up for you so that you can work on your locomotives and your rolling stock and have a nice place to collect all of your tools in one location. I could also see a version of this set up for doing decals and for painting your locomotives because yes, you've got brushes, but there's limited places to put bottles of paint and setting solutions for decals, things of that nature. So that would be another item. I haven't checked on their website. They actually might have one of those already made. But if they don't, if you're listening, guys, that would be an option you could consider doing. Well, that's a wrap for the day's video. I hope you find some utility in the various WWScenics products. And also remember, you can go and buy directly from their store, WWScenics.com. And they will ship it to you. Their shipping is not all that expensive from the UK. They use Royal Mail, and I found that to be just about as fast as some of the courier services that are commonly used for shipping from the UK to the US. So have a great weekend and a great week, and I'll see you here next week with another video from the DCC Guy. Bye now.